So let's welcome to the stage
Gita Jackson.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hi, I'm Gita. So if you know who I am already, you probably know me from a couple of different things that I've done. I'm Gita, and I used to work at Kotaku, which was owned by 3 different companies when I worked there. The first one was Gawker. For like about a week when I got there, it was still Gawker. They finalized the deal to sell to Univision, and then they became Gizmodo Media Group. And then Univision sold us to Great Hill Partners, and then we became Geo Media, which is completely washed. And that was because they forgot to change the name for a second, and then they just settled on Geo because The Onion was a part of the sites at that point, so it was like, whatever. They were not very creative people. They're very, very stupid. So that whole scenario led me to quitting my job at Kotaku and joining Motherboard, which was owned by Vice. And I worked with geniuses, and I felt like a genius when I worked there. And then we all eventually got fucked over by upper management. I was just one of the first people that they fucked over specifically. And then I was unemployed for a year, and then I started this website called Aftermath.site, which I think is really cool. It's 100% worker-owned, reader-supported, and if you're a subscriber, thank you so much. We just got merch samples back. They look super good. I'm really, really excited to start selling merch. If you want to know the specific story of Aftermath, it's really simple. So, yeah, it's sort of that's what Aftermath is, basically. But Aftermath is really easy to figure out, to tell the story of. I learned this all a week ago. Basically, Luke Plunkett quit his job at Kotaku, and then he emailed Nathan Grayson, and then Nathan emailed Riley McLeod, and then Luke DM'd me on Twitter because I never check my email, which if you were trying to get in contact with me for the purposes of this conference, you probably already know. And then Chris Person was someone that we asked to help us out with video stuff, and he just kept coming to the meetings, and then writing stuff for us, so now we decided he should be a co-owner also. But tracing the entire line of how I got, and we all got to this place where digital media is right now, is slightly more complicated. So I'm gonna give you very simplified, truncated history here. So, we used to have these things called newspapers, and people used to get newspapers at their houses. It was crazy, I know, a physical paper. And these were economically supported by outside investors, yes, but also by things like the classified section, where people would pay to place ads. If you wanted to buy a dresser, you would have to go to the back of your paper and see if anyone was advertising a dresser to sell. There were personal ads and stuff like that in there too. And that enabled people to do journalism, which was a cool thing that we used to do. And then, it was an economic model that worked perfectly, so people could have writing careers, where writing was the only thing they did, and it could support their family. You could work at the same paper for your entire adult career, which is a wild thing to think about. And then when I decided that I wanted to be in media, the entire economic model that supported journalism completely collapsed, which was so sick. So part of this, why it collapsed, is obviously the internet fucked over the classified ads thing. Craigslist is free. You don't have to pay anyone to put a Craigslist ad up. If I need a dresser from IKEA, if I need a bully bookshelf, I can just look on fucking Craigslist. Another part of that is a series of really, really bad decisions by those outside investors that hold the purse strings. The number one being that the idea that journalism should be profitable, which doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like journalism should just exist in the world. You guys love clapping. It's great for my self-esteem, thank you. I didn't wear this dress for no reason. Another part of that, though, is no one's really figured out how to make money off of things, of writing specifically on the internet. So we use the ad-based model where you you buy, the ad packages are sold on the idea that a certain number of eyeballs will see them, a click rate, paid by the click, blah, 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 whatever. But there's a maximum number of eyeballs you can get on those ads. You can't have limitless year-over-year growth, which is what these the people that sell ads really, really want. And you can try to get around that by putting more ads on the page, and that just makes like your phone feel like an improvised explosive device when you're reading anything. Or you can generate more content, but like readers can tell when you are just sitting there writing like a 300-word blog about nothing because they need to run ads against it. And they don't read it, and so you get less of a return on your investment. So I was warned about this before I pitched my first article anywhere. Maddie Myers, who is now news editor at Polygon, my very dear friend, she told me that journalism, there's like no money in it, and especially niche video, like journalism, like video game stuff, is a completely thankless job. But unfortunately, my brain had already been poisoned. So when I was in college, I was like a daily reader of Gawker and Jezebel, and then I was a cinema studies major with a nascent interest in new media art, and I read this article by Kirk Hamilton, which was an interview with Davey Wreden about his then new game, The Stanley Parable, and like, it electrified my brain. I wanted so badly not only to talk to people like Davey Wreden, but to produce writing about art like the kind that Kirk Hamilton made. And this was the end result. Oh, Kirk. So Kirk Hamilton ruined my life because I ended up actually working at Kotaku, and it was not a good place to work, I will have to say. So, my husband's laughing so loud in the front row. I love you so much, baby. So I started working at Kotaku, and it sucked. I wrote about it on Aftermath, and I'll just let you guys read about it there. The big thing, though, that I learned from this terrible experience was that the people that actually make a website run are the workers, not the bosses. The bosses don't know how to blog. They can't blog for shit. They don't know what to do. I can write 300 words and make somebody laugh, and the bosses have come up with headlines like, "How dumbass are you?" I don't understand that. But I also learned that because I am the person that generates all of this money that these people want to be having, I probably am entitled to all that my labor creates, including the salary. Thank you. Money, please. Yeah, I'm entitled to all that my labor creates, including the salary of the HR manager that could not send an email with an attachment. She was paid $250,000 a year. I hate her. So after everyone from Deadspin quit, I ended up looking for a new job, and I ended up at Motherboard, which fucking ruled. I loved Motherboard so much, maybe the best job I've ever had in my life. Surrounded by geniuses, now they're the geniuses at 404. I became such a good writer there. I learned so much from them, and then I was laid off in an airport on my way to a wedding, which is not an experience I recommend. I just remember landing with my husband and just thinking all I really wanted to do was watch the movie Interview with the Vampire. I don't know what that was about, but it was all I really wanted. And then for a year after that or so, I was freelancing. Freelancing went like okay, but it didn't make enough money for me to support myself. And that really sucked and was very frustrating. I did eventually get like a second job doing technical writing, but that's like not what I want to do long term. It supports me right now, but again, you know, it's not, I want to write about art and stuff, you know, so I don't want to be writing about what an API is. But despite all this, I did eventually get that DM from Luke, and we did eventually make this company together. And I really do think worker-owned journalism is the future of media. And I don't think that because I think my little beautiful baby website, Aftermath.site, is ever going to be as big as like Vox or Condé Nast or any of these really, really big companies. And I hope not, actually. I want it to be sustainable and small and not constantly chasing new growth. But I feel like I'm understanding a new kind of space for us to fit into the existing media landscape where we can create these sustainable companies that can support us comfortably, but without having to constantly promise new growth that we can't deliver. So I wanted to talk about the Alt Weekly, basically. So what was the Alt Weekly? Because the Alt Weekly was also a victim of the collapsing media landscape, like immediately. These are some examples of Alt Weeklies, and what's so crazy is only one of these still exists. It's so funny. There is an Alt Weekly in Portland, though. My husband found me the Willamette Weekly, which is very nice to see. Glad that y'all keeping it real. That's fucking cool, honestly. The Alt Weekly, these are like small papers that are usually free, again, supported by classifieds and personals, et cetera, but usually free papers that are designed to catch the stories that the major publications in these cities and these geographical areas will not catch. So the Village Voice for a long time was like on the right side of history on LGBTQ rights, like long before the New York Times was. And it covered those communities and with empathy because it was serving Greenwich Village. And those were the people who lived there. And those were the stories they were interested in. Like, I don't think like a band like the Talking Heads could have ever happened if it weren't for a paper like the Village Voice, which would also have like comprehensive arts calendars of shows and gallery openings, again, stuff that's just not going to be covered by a larger publication. So I can see there are some worker-owned journalism sites that kind of do inherit this legacy. One of them is Hellgate, which is so good. I love Hellgate so much. It's the most obvious comparison to draw because it is specifically serving New York, a geographical location, and it does strive in the same Village Voicey way to catch stories that larger New York-focused publications won't catch. One of my favorite examples of this is the Eric Adams Table of Success, which our weird mayor, Eric Adams, I don't like him. He is a really weird man, and like every other paper in America covers him as if the things he says are normal, but they're not normal. It's called the Table of Success because Eric Adams once told a reporter, "The haters will be our waiters at the table of success." Don't know what that means. It's crazy. So, and there's also, alternate methods here. The Colorado Sun is an interesting example of a paper that is worker-owned. It's also a 501c3 nonprofit, which I think is very cool. That it's designed to, again, catch stories in the greater Colorado area that the major Colorado papers aren't catching. It is not quite as specifically left-wing political or voicey as Hellgate is, but it is still trying to be sort of like, I keep doing this, like it's a net underneath all the other bigger publications, making sure that stories that are important to people who live in Colorado are actually being captured and recorded. But actually the thing that got me started thinking about the Alt Weekly was Rascal News. And they are a tabletop gaming website. I think they're really, really great. And they do this thing that I think is really cool, which is they have an announcements page on their site. So readers of Rascal News, if you are in the tabletop gaming community, can pay to have press releases placed on their website. And, like announcements of new games or casting announcements for an actual play, et cetera, et cetera. The tabletop gaming community, despite how many tabletop games exist, is actually a pretty small one. So having this centralized location can be really, really important for people to get eyeballs on the thing that you want to advertise. Relying on your own social media to promote your stuff, actually, increasingly, it's more and more difficult. So if there's a location you can go to and be like, look for the announcement on Rascal News, it helps people out a lot. The internet has really changed how we define a community. So communities they used to be defined specifically by being like contiguous physical spaces, like the Greenwich Village, right? But now it can be like something you're interested in, a fandom. You could all just be like MUFOs on Twitter or whatever. Basically, it's this. Yeah, you know, you're all just looking for your other freaks out there. You just need someone to match your freak, and then that's your community. And you start a Discord server, and then you're all talking to each other every day, and you feel like you are in community with each other. So how I think about Aftermath right now is as like an alt weekly for like over 35 people who like video games that are interested in labor rights and often have a left-wing perspective. And we serve that community with our blogs, but also with all of these things that we do. You have to pay us to get in our Discord, and you have to pay us to comment on our website. And our comments are really good, actually, and I love them. And you will just give us money for this, and I love that for you. It reminds me of something that Riley McLeod says to us like every day, which is the blogs are their money. What this means is the more that we write, the more money that you guys give us, which I think is super great. And it's not just like stuff, like writings to fill space. It's the blogs that we care about and we put passion into, and that we at least have the desire to entertain and inform. That always leads to the number growing up. We hoped when we started Aftermath that we would like turn on a money faucet and we'd all be millionaires, you know? Scrooge McDuck right into the fucking big thing. Yeah, it would be so great. But instead what we got was like a pretty good base and then consistent, like slow growth, which is so much more sustainable and has really proved true that the longer that we publish things that we care about, the more that we will find our audience and the more that they will like self-select to join our community and be served by our alt weekly. I was asked to describe how this makes me feel emotionally, which makes me want to throw up. But I got like really sentimental during a meeting like last week, and it's because I feel ridiculously optimistic about the future, and I find that really embarrassing. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like my site's in a good place, and I feel excited about the cohort of websites that I am a part of. I mean, everyone from 404 is amazing, and it was incredible to see them talk about the site yesterday. I'm so, so, so proud of them. I'm so proud of Defector for being like not only sustainable, but profitable, which is really wild. I'm proud of something like Rascal News, which is still finding its audience. I'm proud of Hellgate, and I'm proud that I get to be a part of it, that I get to help create a system that will help the lives and livelihoods of the people that come after me. Like, rising tide lifts all boats, that kind of thing. You know. Do it. You guys are sweet. Please give me money. But yeah, I used to dream about working at Gawker. You know, I used to dream about a job, right? I used to dream of labor, and that's whack. Don't do that. You'll ruin your own life so quickly. But now I dream of different things, which is pretty cool, and I love that for me. I dream about owning my own work, which is really amazing. I dream about running a website with people that I trust so much. Even when everyone in Aftermath just is pissing me off, I still trust them to run a business with, and you have no idea how valuable that is. You know, I worked with, the secret sauce of Aftermath is that I worked with them all before, and I knew that they know how to run a website where the bosses didn't. Like, we were the people that made that site function. Kotaku was always an underfunded site with not enough people and not enough resources, and we always punched way above our weight. And even though we were not a perfect site, I'm really proud of the work that we did there, and everything that I didn't like was because it was someone who didn't have any business interfering with our business. But now I get to serve our readers without having to worry about some idiot in the C-suite, like being afraid of scaring off investors or advertisers. The blogs really are just my money now, and that's beautiful. And now I can tell people that my website is a little bit like the Village Voice, and nobody can stop me.